Okay, welcome back. This is chapter 20. This is going to be the final chapter from unit 5. This is by Igor Meyer, C.L. Svendalen, and Peter Botts. And this is about policy analytical styles. One of the big important parts of this chapter is that it brings in sort of simultaneity, right? It brings in the idea that all of this shit is going on all at once. It all interacts with each other. And different push-pulls from each of these six sort of hexagonal approaches um, affects each other and can have causal effects and can lead a different sort of sub-policy area to make a shift, etc. All right, so we'll jump right into section 20.2, untangling and explaining. This chapter tries to further codify the sort of policy appraisal approach, right? And they say there's three main functions at least of the model that they're going to sort of lay out in this chapter. And they want to first structure the field into activities and styles, right? Let's talk about all of the different research paradigms, all of the different sort of fractured policy appraisal approach, right? Number two, compare and contrast methods and tools. We did a little bit of that in the former chapter. Number three, review of differing approaches to determining the quality of policy analysis and appraisal. Okay, so section 20.3, the research approach, starts with a set of interacting activities, right? And so they're bringing in, again, this sort of simultaneity thoughts about all of these things playing out all at once and influencing each other rather than that sort of bare bones, here's the 5 steps, they all work linearly like we started the book with. And so the 6 sort of major activities shared by policy appraisal and then reappraisal after a policy's been implemented include number 1, research and analysis. Number 2, design of policy and recommendation about approaches. Number 3, the clarification of arguments and values and social norms and culture. Number 4, the provision of strategic advice by experts in these kinds. Number 5, try to democratize the project, bring in voices from multiple sources, these sorts of things. And then number 6 is mediation, right? Because no one gets to push their own policy their own way at all times. And that's probably a good thing because that's leading toward dictatorship, right? And so we need compromise and mediation, and there's some of that in there too, right? And so they sort of build out this really nice graphic. A moment on graphics. Graphics are remarkable. They help us to better conceptualize and understand how phenomena play out. And we're finding that when you include graphics in news media and especially in research publications, you're more likely to get published. You're more likely to get citations. You get higher levels of clarity by readers. And so graphics are vitally important. And the further and better you start to get to a perfect paper, many of you will notice, the more I try to start pushing, okay, let's take it to the next level and add data, graphics, pictorials, tables, all these sorts of things, right? Because that's the next step. Okay, enough. You can see here that we've got the hexagonal structure and they all interact, right? Okay. Section 20.3.2, policy analysis styles. So they lay out 6 different styles and ways that analysis can influence the policy process. The first is the rationalist approach, right? We've talked about this very much, about data analytics, data collection, presentation, etc. The second, argumentative. And you should basically pay attention to the language and the arguments swirling around a topic or the policymakers or the stakeholders or whomever it might be. Because often you can learn more about the true intent of a policy when you sort of are able to get original documents from this sort of policy appraisal time period, and the committees, and the subcommittees, and the interviews with experts, and all of these sorts of things. Number three, client advice, right? This is very important in political science, in policy making, in determining what your campaign is going to look like, all sorts of things, right? Um, and generally, data will strengthen the advice, right? Um, and so this really focuses on the push and pull sort of mechanisms between all of the different actors, like the analysts, the bureaucratic leaders, the institutional leaders, the policymakers, the non-governmental organizations, all of these things. Number four, there is a participatory sort of analytical approach to be talked about, right? And many who are in sort of this approach either come from NGOs or come from citizen groups, right? And say that we need to build out ways to empower citizens to take to sort of what do we call co-production of policy, right? Number five, processes, right? And this is the institutional stuff, right? So this is going to be your rules, your laws, the institutional veto points that we talked about in Unit 1. This is where a lot of times economic game theory gets brought in, right? And then finally, we have sort of the interactive influence and interactive approach. How are these things influencing each other? Where's the causal arrow point? All of these sorts of things. All right. The final part we'll focus on in this chapter is from 20.3.3, where they basically just lay out their argument of archetypal styles, right? And so you have sort of the object-oriented values versus the subject-oriented values. Um, you know, I would almost lay this out as sort of analysis, or not even that, like large level analysis and large level thinking versus how does this affect case studies and subjects or individuals, right? And then you have sort of on the other end of the spectrum, you have either idealism or pragmatism, right? And so they break down all of these sort of different approaches and how they are influenced by either the object subject um, leg of the graph or the idealism versus pragmatism leg of the graph. Okay, thanks for being here. That is the end of part 5, and we'll start with Unit 6 next.